Are you and your partner stuck in a never-ending loop of misunderstandings and conflict that just feels impossible to resolve? You are far from alone. In this video, I'm going to draw on my 15 years of practicing as a clinical psychologist and couples therapist to help you understand how these patterns can become so entrenched in relationships, how they can be self-perpetuating, and how you can break free from this conflict and build a deeper connection and a much more satisfying relationship for you and your partner. So strong, so stable. I find that attractive in a man. But I also have a lot of anxiety about relationships, and I think people are going to leave me. So I like a lot of reassurance that my partner loves and cares about me. She's so warm, and she's so kind, and she's so spontaneous. But I also know that in the end, you're on your own. So don't rely on anyone else other than yourself, and don't let anyone else rely on you. I wonder if he's thinking about me. He's probably just forgotten about me. I mean, why would he think about me? He's at work. I'm not that important to him. I'm probably just being silly. I'll text her. I used to find her texting endearing. It was sweet to get these messages all day, but you know, I really need to work. I don't know why she needs to message me all day long. Come on, why aren't you replying? Still no reply. Maybe he doesn't like me that much. He probably finds me annoying. He's probably having a great time without me. More messages? Whoa, crazy lady. He's probably annoyed at me sending these texts, but come on, I'm actually upset. Come on, don't you care? He doesn't care. He just doesn't care. Silent. Now I have to go home, but she's so angry and I just can't face it. I just can't face it. It's been a long day. I can't face it right now. Still no reply? And now you're like an hour late from work? Are you cheating on me? Who is she? Cheating? Grow up. Familiar? These kind of patterns play out over and over in close relationships. In couples therapy, we call this a vulnerability cycle, and understanding it can help you to break it and build a much better relationship for both you and your partner. We all bring our vulnerabilities to our relationships, and we all have ways of coping and survival strategies that we use to cope in the world. In a vulnerability cycle, each person's vulnerability and survival strategy is activating the other one's vulnerability and survival strategy. I learned early on in life that people close to me will leave, so I'm always on the lookout for potential signs of abandonment. And one way I cope with this is by getting reassurance. Text me, come on, reassure me. Because if he was to reply, that would tell me that he's actually thinking about me and he does care. I learned early on in life that in the end, you're on your own. My mother had to depend on me for emotional support, and I know you can never be enough. You can never meet those needs. I want a partner who can stand on her own 2 feet and not hamper my freedom. So when she texts, yes, and then you don't reply, which means I feel completely on my own, like you're never gonna actually meet my needs. Am I even important to you? Do I matter to you at all? Did you see it? Her anxiety about being abandoned and unloved leads to her survival strategy of seeking reassurance in the form of text messages. But this activates his anxiety about being overwhelmed and trapped by someone whose needs can never be met. And his survival strategy is to become withdrawn and dismissive. And of course that activates her anxiety about being unloved and abandoned. And so she wants even more reassurance, which further convinces him that her needs can never be met. So he becomes even more dismissive and withdrawn, and we are off to the races. When I work with couples, understanding this cycle can really free them from the idea that either they or their partner are to blame. And it can bring them together so they can actually love and support each other during such impasses. If you've watched any of my videos before, you'll know that I always emphasize the need for self-compassion and self-care as you address your relationship patterns. The same applies to working on relationship challenges as a couple. Often when I see people for couples therapy, they'll say something like, we're both willing to see our faults and what we're doing wrong so we can fix it. And as genuine as that is, it also doesn't really work that way. Rather than thinking about who's in the wrong or who's doing things that are wrong, I think it's more helpful to think, where have these patterns come from? What are the underlying emotions? What are the unmet needs? What are the pain points of each person in this relationship? So how can we take better care of each other? You need to know your own story. You need to have self-awareness, and your partner needs to have self-awareness. And then you also need to build other awareness. So you're understanding yourself and you're understanding your partner, and your partner is understanding themselves and they're also understanding you. That requires replacing criticism and judgment with genuine curiosity and interest in the other person's experience. I've told him many times how I feel. I've told him about how my father abandoned me. I've told him how anxious I feel in relationships. And yet he still doesn't want to give me reassurance because he still doesn't actually care about me all that much. But I've never shared with her that I felt so overly responsible for my mother, and that when she messages me, I fear that I'll just never be enough and that she'll never be satisfied. I feel completely overwhelmed. Wait, you're overwhelmed? You don't look overwhelmed. Did you see it? He did something he doesn't usually do. He shared some vulnerability. And when he did, it invited a much more empathic and interested response from her. Building empathy for him could allow her to reconsider her idea that he doesn't care about her. She can start to see him as overwhelmed rather than uncaring. In changing his pattern, the dance steps have started to change. She is now much more attuned to him. She's a little less concerned about her own fears of being abandoned, and she's starting to show care and concern for him. She starts to give me the experience of being supported and cared about in a relationship with a woman, not just taken from, depleted and exhausted. Need me? Her entire story about him is starting to change. But the texting? So what if I told him that I'm actually embarrassed at the amount I text him and I wish I didn't do it, but that the story I'm telling myself, when he doesn't reply, he doesn't love me, he doesn't care about me, and I'm going to get abandoned, and that brings up really painful feelings from my past, and then I just can't stop myself. Whoa, no. We are not going down that particular rabbit hole. This will never end. I will never be able to meet this woman's needs. Whoa. The story you're telling yourself is that if you respond to her needs at all, they'll be completely overwhelming and she will never stop. Oh, no. If I start replying to every text message, it's never going to stop. Is that really so much to ask? Okay. How would you like your evening to go? What would you like to do when you get home from work and you see her? I'd like to come home, watch TV, have a peaceful evening with no argument. So you can say that. You can say, hey, I love you. I'm really looking forward to having dinner with each other this evening and watching some TV together. Just to let you know, work is busy, so I might not be able to reply for the rest of the day. But I'm looking forward to seeing you this evening. And that could really help me to learn that just because someone isn't physically there or immediately responsive, it doesn't mean they've stopped caring. I can relax, secure in the knowledge that they're going to come back later. Exactly. Now, if you would like to try these out in your relationships, you can try these 3 steps. Number 1, know yourself. Understand your history and what you're bringing to your relationships. So for these 2, it might be, my needs are too much, and in the end, everyone leaves. I'm on my own, but I like it that way. Other people's needs are too much for me. Number 2, know your partner. Share your story and listen deeply to theirs, trying to understand and empathize, not correct, criticize, or problem solve. Really get to understand and care about each other's stories and what each of you are bringing to the relationship. You need to have self-awareness and other awareness. Number 3, map out your vulnerability cycle. This can help you get a little bit of distance from it, to see it as something separate from you. You can see yourselves less as two people in conflict with each other and more as a team who are coming together to change a pattern in your relationship. Once you get really familiar with the cycle, you'll start to see it happening in real time. And that gives you an opportunity to interrupt the cycle, to make choices, to change your behaviors, to do something different that's much more likely to help rather than hurt. Will this always work? Of course not. Not all relationships have two people willing to come together with this kind of mutual care and respect. Doing your part as best you can to adopt a caring and compassionate stance to both yourself and your partner gives your relationship the best possible chance. And it will also help to clarify to what extent your partner is willing and able to join you in such a mutually respectful and loving relationship. But even then, not all relationships can be saved, and not all relationships should be saved. Sometimes the right thing is to move on. So if you've walked away from relationships and you want to think about how to get a new relationship off to a better start and avoid these familiar pitfalls, check out this video next.